What is going on? What is going on? What is going on, party people? It's your boy, Coach D Brown, former big leaguer, former first round pick with the Kansas City Royals. And man, we got a special day today, man. Special day today. So I always love bringing on families and guys that kind of went through the draft or going through the draft. We talking college and all of that, but this one's kind of special, man. The beauty of this, the beauty of baseball and connections and it's a small world. I always say this all the time, right? And as everybody starts kind of chiming in and coming in at the different time, but last week, you know what I'm saying, my man hit me up out of on social media on Facebook, and I have not seen my guy here, all right, my boy Jovon, since I was a 18-year-old, 17, 18-year-old kid over there trying to decide what I wanted to do with my future agent wise, way back in the day. So I got a call when I saw my man. I jumped on and I was like, yo, I got to get connected with my guy over here and see what's going on with him. And we talked, we chopped it up for many minutes, and he was like, "Yo, D, I got a son over here that's drafted first round," and I ain't gonna lie, like he said it, and he just kind of breezed it over, and I ain't really think nothing. But my man was like, "Yo," I had to really think. I said, "Damn, but Javon just got him a first rounder in here." I ain't even, he kind of just slid that in here. We were talking tennis and everything, but so I said, "Man, it's only right that I bring on my boy and his son, first round pick 2018." By the San Diego Padres. Since has been traded to the Tampa Rays over here. But I am joined by Jovon Evers and his son Xavier Evers. Man, what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing, man?
All good. Nothing but love, sir. Nothing but love.
Man, so I mean, Jovan, man, I mean, listen, it's crazy, man, how this whole thing works. I'm gonna start with you, then I'm gonna get over to the main guy here in a little bit, man. But so I mean, here we are. You got a baseball background, professional ball player yourself, right? Hustling and had a chance to, run into guys like myself over there and was working on the agent side of things many years, still am. And when when you had your son, obviously I haven't, it's my first time ever seeing him, in person or, well, on the thing. But when you had your son, was it something that you just kind of automatically was like, yo, we gonna play ball? Is it something that he just picked up and you put that bat in his hands? How did that whole dynamic, come about?
Yeah, most people would think that I was basically forcing him to go that route because I went down that street. But the reality is Xavier was chasing around the tennis game because of my daughter, and he was probably a better tennis player up until around 8 years old or so.
Really?
It was my wife who had a talk with him, took him out to the field on some occasions, and said, I think he wants to play some baseball as opposed to tennis. I was like, I mean, that's all good, but right now I'm a little busy with my daughter in the tennis game, so you take him on out there. But she really got him started playing.
Wow. Tennis, huh? So Xavier, man, congratulations being drafted first round in 2018, man. And I know you're on that grind right now. You know what I'm saying? Them. Well, right now I don't know what you're gonna be doing with this COVID thing, but leading up to that, man, what made you switch from that tennis to that baseball, man? And you know, when did you really understanding like, yo, I'm kind of nice at this, man? Like, I got a real chance out here. When did that start happening?
Um, I want to say around like 8, 7, 8. First off, just with baseball, I love the team aspect of it. Tennis, it's just you out there on the court, and I
Mm-hmm.
love the team aspect of baseball and like making a bunch of friends playing baseball, and guys on my team that I just had a lot of fun with growing up, playing with, whether it be all stars and then on the travel ball and then high school and so on. But the team aspect of it, which is what really drew me to baseball, and I would say around like that 7, 8, 9 year old mark, I was playing pretty local stuff, and we were doing some traveling, and I think I ran with it from there.
Good deal, man. So 9, 10 playing there. Was it one of those things, Jovan? Did you coach him all the way up, through there? Did you, kind of, or did you kind of leave him to the other coaches to do it? How did that work?
Yeah, initially he was on a team here locally, and they had some coaches out there. They kind of knew what they were doing. I'll give them some credit, and I just kind of stayed in the background for a minute. And my wife asked me to kind of go check out the lay of the land and see if he was getting, what he needed. And I went out and volunteered a couple of times, and had a couple of conversations with them. And I didn't really tell them my background at first. I just kind of played it off. And I did notice that they were putting him over at third base. So I was like, look, I mean, he's not an expert just yet, but I know he's not a third baseman.
Right.
And I said, maybe I need to get a little more involved with this thing. And so I started coaching with the team here locally in Florida. And he finally got over to his right position, probably at about 8.5 by the time I got in there good with the team.
Oh,
And they
wow.
put him over at shortstop and realized that, yeah, maybe this kid is pretty good. And they probably took about a year before they even realized that I played, because I didn't really say much about it.
Right,
And
right.
a couple of parents asked, hey, your kid seems to be all right at this game. I mean, where's he training? Who's he training with? I said, well, I've been working with him for a little bit. He loves the game, and he's getting better. And I think somebody looked me up or something. They figured out, well, this guy is leading on more than he's saying. But from that point, in the beginning, he was a switch hitter, and he just had a passion for the game, man, which was, and he still has a passion for the game. So that's what, helped me start rolling up my sleeve and said, look, let's put the work in. And I know a couple of things about it. I'll show you what I know, and, we'll go from there.
Wow, man. So switch hitting, man. So when did you start switch hitting, Xavier?
Just about from the beginning, about 5, 6 years old, they had me swinging both ways, off the ball, off the fence, on the tennis court. So it was kind of instilled in me real early.
Wow, man. So, all right. So now you're coming up through high school and you're doing your thing, man. And so when did that love and when did that, hey, I may have a chance at this right now, be, I mean, you picked, what pick were you in the country that year you came out of high school?
38.
I mean, so you're the 38th pick in the country, man, by the Padres. How was that like attention? And it's funny, Jovon been it as a player, but he been on the other side. So I know there had to be a trip to go through it with your son. But with that attention, what were some of the direction? What were some of the tournaments? What are some of the showcases, that you played in to give you that exposure? Was it something where you just kind of played high school and local travel ball and you just were seen? What was that? What was your path?
I'd say it really took the turn when I went to area code games. I went out there as a freshman, and the following years after that, I went out there 3 straight years, and I was playing up, and I think that's kind of when, I started to realize the talent that I had and the path that I was going down towards, the next level, whether it be pro or collegiately. But I feel like area codes would really set me up for that, as well as the perfect game showcases. Just to get a gauge of where I was at and where my skill, my numbers were lined up. But I feel like area codes was a big part of that, just being able to compete against the guys from all over the country. And you see where everybody at was in my grade and even the grade above me, to see where all the players were at and where I kind of stacked up. And seeing all those college coaches, literally every big name school that you can name, all the head coaches are there. There's pro scouts there from the West Coast and even the East Coast. And then once you got to the upper class area code event, it's the higher ups in the organizations and continuing the college guys. So I think once I went there, it kind of really pushed me to want to be better and to see how high I can really go.
Now I hear about area code games, man, but that back when your dad and I were coming up, that was the thing to do. Was area code. That was it. Now you got all Atlantas and everything there, but it sounds like area code games is still the big thing. You know what I'm saying? Yes or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for me. And a lot of guys I grew up playing with, we all kind of got a chance to go out there. Guys from my travel team and from down south that I played with from when I was 10. It's so cool to see us at 10 and see our old pictures of traveling, playing, USSSA tournaments. And then here we are 16, 17, and we're at area code. We're all in California playing at Long Beach State. And we're in front of a packed house full of scouts and college coaches. And we're all doing our thing, and just to see how we've all matured and stuff. So absolutely, area code games is still all it's turned up to be.
Good deal. I've got a question that came in. This is for Dad. Vincent says, "What made you recognize that he wasn't a third baseman?"
Well, look, this is for all the parents out there. For some reason, they seem to send us to the outfield. You know, when I say us, I mean players of color,
Mm-hmm.
because we are athletic or fast. And I did play outfield, but I initially played infield coming up through high school.
Mm-hmm.
And like because of his size, like Xavier is not physically large right now. He's 5'10" at the most, 175 pounds. So you can imagine at 8'9", you know, how big he might have been. He
Mm.
just didn't fit that third base profile. And then on top of that, like he was initially not given an opportunity to show if he was a middle infielder. So then I
Mm.
kind of stepped to the forefront and said, well, look, let me assess who this team has and figure out whether he should or should not be at third base. So they respected the fact that I played professionally. And sometimes you need to get an independent evaluation of your kid to figure out where they might be best suited. But in his case, I said no. And I told my wife, I said, look, he's not a third baseman today, tomorrow, or any other day. And so we got to figure out, I'll have a conversation with these guys, and then we'll kind of see, you know, where the kids are at in terms of their skill level.
All right. So, and far as tools and 60 and the measurements, man. So just to kind of give an idea of what a first rounder is, all right, for the listeners in there. So what did you run in the 60?
My 60 was around 6'4", 6'5", mostly. Um, Infield stuff was around like 90 miles an hour across the diamond. And hit from both sides. I performed pretty well during the showcase circuit, so I feel like all the games, the area code games, and having good showings at the right events is also important for that kind of thing. So going to the right events
He's
and performing well.
So let me ask you
he's
this.
being
So
modest too, D. He's being modest.
is he? Is he?
Yeah, but he
He
always
said,
is.
all right, well, that's a good thing, man. So 6'4", all right, 6'4", 60, 90 across the diamond, switch hitter, all right. And how those hands, man? Them hands, all right?
Yeah, defense was probably my first love when I first
Really?
started playing baseball. You know, tennis, you hit the ball back and forth, but yeah, it's playing defense for me when I was younger. It's almost like hitting an ace or like a winner on a tennis court.
Mm.
It's like you get to take something away from somebody else. In tennis, you're winning a point. In baseball, you're taking the hit from somebody else, and they might not get the hit for another 45 minutes.
Wow, I
So,
love that. I love that
and
answer.
defense, I just loved playing defense growing up, and I took a lot of pride in defense. I still do, but yeah, what made me fall in love with baseball was being out there and playing defense and just making the plays that most people weren't making, especially at that age. So I prided myself on the defense.
All right, so from a switch hitting side though, what did it just come naturally because you've been doing whatever? Do you have a favorite side, or is it something one side a little bit better than the other, or what?
It's funny you say that because growing up, I hated switch hitting.
Really?
Yeah, I'm natural righty.
Right.
Played tennis righty. I right righty. I do pretty much everything right except for shoot a basketball, courtesy of my dad.
Okay.
But I used to shoot a basketball righty until I watched him shoot.
Okay.
But yeah, natural righty. I could hit righty. I had some good speed when I was younger, and for the most part, my left hand just wasn't strong enough. Get on top of balls and hit balls the way I wanted to. Hit balls the
Mm.
way I could right-handed.
Mm.
And that growing up in the local stuff, I would just get out over and over again left-handed. Like I would just go up there and bunt, and if I didn't get the bunt down, I'd switch over righty, like mid at bat.
Really?
Yeah, like that. So I was just like, lefty, this is not it.
Uh-huh.
And, my parents obviously saw something a lot further down the road than I could see. I was just like, I'm letting the team down. I'm not getting any hits.
Right.
I'm supposed to be the man. I'm not getting any hits. Like, what's going on?
Right.
But they told me to kind of just stay the course and keep doing it, and it's going to pay off in the long run. And sure enough, it did. And obviously now I've fallen in love with hitting left-handed.
Uh-huh.
And it's probably my favorite side. I'd probably say now it's crazy. It's come full circle, and now my favorite side to go up there is left-handed because of the amount of bats. But I had to put so much more work in left-handed just to try to catch it up to right-handed because my dominant hand. So I think that's ultimately what made me just love hitting lefty so much.
D, can I speak to that for a minute?
Sure.
Yeah, because
Because
I
I was
think
going
it's
to ask you
important.
too. I wanted to ask you about, what did you see? One, is it something that you did early, and why did you, continue to make him understand, like, keep going with this, keep going with this?
Yeah, I think it's just trust in the process. You hear people say that, but I don't think they really understand what kind of workload that takes, and then the amount of time and energy and effort. And I want to
Mm,
encourage the parents, just to have the kids stay with it. It's not always about the result today. It's about building upon that right foundation. And I think what was big for him as a switch hitter, I put him in some tough spots in some big games. Go up there lefty. I don't care if we're down by a couple of runs in the last inning. You can still start something. So it was more of building some confidence in him as a hitter. And, a couple of the coaches he had that were with me were like, no, he needs to go up right-handed because he can hit better that way. And I said, but in order to develop your game, you need that pressure on you. And then you
mm,
need to be confident that you can come through in those pressure situations. And I
mm-hmm,
think that's what really allowed him to grow as a hitter, but more
mm.
importantly, as a switch hitter, just understanding how you stay the course. And this game, all these guys that are playing now, they're all works in progress. You're trying to get better at it. You're never going to arrive. So just stay that course as a player, and as parents too. Help your kids stay that course. Encourage him. If you think he's an infielder or an outfielder, encourage him to work hard at it. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't achieve and become the best player you are.
I love that, man. So, he's out here grinding, and he's on his way up, and he's doing his thing. So, you know, when it's draft time, the draft is coming in, and the tension is coming, and all of that. Jovon, I want to ask you this: that you being an agent and in this business a long time, from playing to in the night, working as an agent over there, '90s, mid '90s on. What has you seen different wise from, like, the draft process back, when you played, when I played, and now when Xavier played, going through the
Oh
process? What's the
wow,
difference?
that's a great question. I think the social media aspect, the scrutiny that the players are under, the amount of information that teams are seeking, and
Mm,
this, I say the scrutiny because these guys are looking for everything, whether you show up first, whether you help with the L screen, the turtle, what kind of
mm,
leader you are as a player.
mm.
And, for the most part, back in the day, look, if you could hit, run, catch, and throw, you were the man, like you back in the day. That's why I was on you. But now there's so many more intangibles that teams are looking
Mm,
for as they
mm,
scout and evaluate players.
mm.
The academic side of things. Xavier was committed to Vanderbilt.
Wow.
He had Duke and Vandy as really his number 1 and 2 schools,
Wow.
and we knew how important that is for teams to understand. As an educator, as both my wife and I, that look, education is something that's big for him. Baseball is what Xavier does. That doesn't define who he is. And
Mm.
so, like I said, they have a lot more information on players than I think back in your time and back in my time for sure.
Wow, man. Yeah, because that's social media and everything. Oof, that's crazy, man. So you about their grades, you go in there, you get drafted 38th, pick all, man. So let's get into this pro side, man. So, you're excited, and I know your family and everything. How I saw the video, acting like real, Negroes up in there real deep, you know what I'm saying? Up in there.
That's
So
New
that had to
York
be.
right there.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought about it. I was like, yeah, all his people was there, right there, right, in North Jersey, and everybody from New York came down, man. So how was that, to be able to fly up there to the MLB Network studios, be announced over there, Tony Gwynn Jr., essentially giving you the Padres jersey, explain that day, to the listeners. How dope was that, man?
That was probably my best moment of the year, honestly. Just being able to first off get invited, just knowing the history behind the guys that get invited to go up there. It's a pretty short list, and not many guys a year go. Between like 1 to 6 guys go usually a year.
Mm,
You know, depending on the circumstance. But it was just an honor to be able to be invited and to honestly to feel that they were confident enough that I would get picked on the first day. and just the talks with the scouts and stuff. So that part of it was cool. It was great to be able to just see all my family there because I don't get to see them all that often, especially not while I was in school. So it was great to have, all my supporting staff there with me, from my grandmas to my friends back home to like their families or families I grew up with. Like everybody was there. My high school coach came. My travel ball coaches came. Like it was all the people that have been in my corner since the beginning, and it was just great to see them all be there for such a big moment in my life. We got to take a trip on the Hudson River. And we got on a ferry, and we just rode around the whole all New York pretty much. And we saw the Studio 52, and just being able to be there. Like I watched a lot of MLB Network, quick pitch and all that stuff, and you're there. You're on that diamond where they're doing all the hitting analysis and the wiffle ball, and they're breaking down MLB games, and we're sitting in the middle of it. We're sitting at the stands where they usually are commentating on games. Like we're sitting there, we're living it. We're there, and it was just great to be able to be there with such a group of people that have been there since the day one, and it was just honestly a blessing.
So, Dad, I want to know, like, you. I mean, gosh, you've been through it yourself, and to see. I mean, I know you kind of was building up over there, but you don't never know till you hear that name being called, and so like, how was it from a dad point of view? You know what I'm saying? Like seeing the accumulation of the hard work and everything, and seeing your son being called, man, where he got called.
Yeah, it was really exciting for sure. It was definitely a blessing. But my hat goes off to him because he was the one that put in the work. He was the one that silenced the doubters. A lot of scouts, they talked about his physical size. Well, he's not 6'1", 6'2". Well, he is fast, but he's not running a 6'1". Well, his arm is good at 90, but it's not 99. And that scout game, these guys are looking to break you down. But at that moment, after all the hard work and to know that San Diego believed in him to the point in which they did, we were really excited. And like I said, hard work paying off, and he's deserving of it. At every turn, he met the challenges on that showcase circuit. As I told you, he was modest. He left the numbers out of it, which is fine, but he really played big. He played bigger than he physically is, and as well as anybody that year. From a high school standpoint, he outplayed them all. So I think it was just a reward for that work and that grind that he went through and putting himself in position. Those late nights, those early mornings, and the extra hitting sessions, extra running, shoveling sand, hitting the heavy tire, swinging the heavy bat, running on the beach. You name it, he's done it. And so, like I said, it was just a culmination. My wife and I are both excited for him and his opportunity that's still in front of him.
No doubt about it. So, Steven asked this. All right, Jovon, please talk about getting an advisor before the draft.
Okay, that's a great question. First of all, we've vetted several companies, and nowadays, look, these guys are coming at you. If the player is really good, probably ninth grade, you're going to start to hear from these guys.
Wow.
And definitely as early as ninth grade now. And I think what ultimately we met with all these guys, over dinner, had conversations, and we just kind of sat back. Xavier didn't decide until going into his junior year. So it was probably a year and a half long process of having conversations with these guys. And what stood out for his company, Reynolds Sports, was the lead advisor came to his games, summer as well as high school. And he never, we never seen him talking to other families during the course of time he was recruiting us and talking with us. So he would show up, watch Xavier play, and there'd be, 100, 200 kids out there playing in other games. He'd watch Xavier, and then he would leave. He'd come the next day, he'd watch Xavier, we'd talk, and then he would leave. I mean, he would leave the park. He didn't just leave our field. And all the other guys, they would come out, watch Xavier. They would work us a little bit, go talk to some other families, go work them a little bit, go talk to some other families. And what I said to Xavier, and it was his choice ultimately, but I said to him, I says, look, there's something that you should know. You can do business with people however you see fit, but you don't have to do business the way they want to. It's on your terms. And the reality was look, this guy's been coming around for about a year, and every time he shows up, he watches you and you only, and then he goes home. So you know that he's going to give you that time of care and attention if you happen to go with that company, as opposed to what we've seen from these other guys, again, trying to hedge their bets and double down on 4 or 5 different kids at a time. And that's not what I did back in my day, as you know, and that's not what I recommend for families if they're looking about hiring an advisor, or the time frame when they should see. Time will tell. Trust you me. Who's really in for your kid? And I said to Xavier, I said, these guys are all in for you. You're the number one priority. So after the draft, I'm sure you're going to be that big fish, kind of, so to speak, in a little pond.
Man, I love it, man. That's great information, man. Great information. So, Xavier, now I want to, I had a second rounder come on a couple weeks ago, and Nas Nunez. I don't know if you know Nas, but we didn't get a chance to really talk that pro side. Him and his mom really talked to, have you on the showcase, and I know you guys could talk about that, but I want to hear your story. You got 1 or 2 more years on him, or 1 more year on him on that pro side, and you've been going through it. So now you get drafted, and what was your first feeling like stepping on the field with that? Obviously then with the Padres, what was that first feeling like? Walking on the field as a pro. What was that feeling like that first day?
It was interesting. Obviously you think like when you get drafted as a pro, bright lights, big stadiums, like the whole deal. And to be honest, the first level is not that. Like rookie ball, you're at the bottom, you're on the backfield. So you play in the stadium sometimes, but there's no one in there. Usually pretty nice fields. So I mean, I was more getting adjusted to like the speed of the game more so than I was like being nervous. I wasn't really nervous, like, oh, when am I to get my first hit? And like all that kind of thing, because it almost feels like a scrimmage, like at the rookie level, because it's just like guys playing and there's no fans or anything.
Right.
But like the speed of the game was different.
Hold on. I'm glad you said it again, because I think a lot of people, they hear that and they automatically think somebody's throwing harder, or that's what they mean by the speed of the game. Define the speed of the game. It gets faster. For people that necessarily don't understand what that means.
Yeah, I got a perfect example for you. So, obviously the guys throw harder. There's some guys that run up there triple digits, and for the most part, everyone's like in the 90 miles an hour, which you probably aren't going to see at the high school level. You may see at the travel level if you're on a really good team, but you're going to see some guys throwing 80s eventually, which you're probably not going to see in the minor leagues. But like besides that, like just when you're playing defense, I noticed it immediately when I was playing defense. Before I ever got in that bat, I was playing defense. And I was playing short, and this one guy on the other team hit a ball in the 6 hole, ground ball, hit on the barrel, and the ball was just skipping away from me. And as soon as I saw the ball off the bat, I was like, I can make that play. Split second later, the ball's in the outfield. And I was like, sheesh. I was like thinking in my head, I'm like, what in the world are these guys taking? They're hitting the ball so hard. Like, there's no way that ball got by me like that. And
right.
Sure enough, it's just like reps. You get used to it, and you start anticipating, thinking about where your next play is going to be and where this pitch is supposed to be, so where you think he's going to hit it. And the speed of the game just starts to becomes normal. It's almost like you go somewhere new, and you're a new kid, and you got to make friends. You got to figure out. You got to make your way in the new position. So it's the same way. It's just learning curve, and learning the speed of that game, but. It's definitely a jump. That's something that I noticed from day one, game one. Like everybody out here is trying to do the same thing as you, which you usually can't say in that position as an amateur. Like in high school, some kids are trying to have fun. Some kids are trying to play college. Doesn't matter what level. And then there's a few guys that are trying to go pro, or maybe you might be the only guys trying to go pro. So it's different at that level. Like everyone is there trying to accomplish the same thing, and they're all trying to get to the highest stage. So
Mm. So now you've been playing 3 years pro side now, right? And you get traded in the middle of your, how was that, going? How did you feel when you were getting? Is that something that you were kind of hearing, or is that something that kind of hit you blindside?
I hit me completely blindside. I actually got I initially found out about the trade from one of my former teammates, Luis Campisano. He made his debut this year with the Padres. We were teammates in
Okay.
high A,
Mm-hmm.
and he had texted me, like basically saying yo, who am I gonna hang out with next year? Because me and him got really close when I was in high A,
Uh-huh.
and it was like about midnight, a little bit like 12:30.
Uh-huh.
Lights are out. I'm laying in bed. I'm like, bro. I was like, bro, what are you
What are
talking
you
about?
talking about, right?
Literally, I was like, what are you talking about? And
Uh-huh.
he sends me this screenshot of a tweet that was saying, "Oh, the Padres and Rays were in serious, consideration of trade featuring Xavier Edwards and Hunter Renfroe, and like kind of run down the trade."
Mm.
Then I sent the screenshot to my parents who were sleeping. I was like, I think I'm getting traded tomorrow, but
Wow.
it wasn't like final, I guess, because of the physical and the
Right.
other things that still need to be discussed.
Uh-huh.
And then sure enough, the next day I got the call from both GMs, Preller and the Rays GM, and I was just like, yeah, I'm like, now it's official. Even though I had kind of known for the day, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a definitely caught me by surprise that I was getting traded overnight, pretty much, and Twitter was the first place that notified me.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So, Dad, you know what I'm saying? You've been around this game a long time, and
Oh man.
when you heard that, what was your first, feeling when your son calls you and say, yo, Pop, I've been traded, man. What was your first feeling on
Yeah,
that?
there's mixed emotions, especially when you're
Right.
dealing with a 20-year-old, 19-year-old at that time.
Mm,
First of all, I was excited that he now is going to understand the business side of this thing. Like
mm,
you're a commodity for the
mm,
organization that you play for. Sometimes guys don't
mm,
realize that until they're 5 or 6 years in, and they're heartbroken when they're traded. He was able to understand that early on.
mm.
At the same time, as a young player, you're thinking, and I was Rule 5 a couple of times, so I understand it. You're thinking, well, man, that team doesn't believe in me anymore. They
Exactly.
don't believe in
Exactly.
my ability. I'm not going
Right.
to be in the big leagues with them. And
Right.
whereas the reality is, there are 30 organizations that you're playing for an opportunity to be on. It's not so much that one that drafts you. You want to have a chance to play for anybody at the big league level. And when they
Mm.
sign you to an extension for 4 or 5 years, then you're all out for that team. But while you're trying to
Right.
get there, if there's a team willing to give you a shot and they want to invest in you, then you got to roll with it.
I love it, man. So Xavier, man, I want to hear. I want to hear from you. Like, what was your? I mean, obviously, you get traded, but I want to hear your thoughts when you find out. Well, how was your initial feelings of this, man?
Honestly, I didn't really have a lot of feelings. There was like a split second where I was like wow, like I'm not gonna be at the project anymore because I enjoyed my time that I spent there. I made a lot
Right.
of good
Right.
relationships. I loved all the staff and the
Right.
coaching that I received when I was there. And honestly, I didn't really know what to expect because I was like, this is at the pro level. This is kind of all I know.
Right.
Last year
Right.
and a half, like this is all I know. I've only played games for the Padres. Even
Right.
up to this point, I've still only played games with the Padres. I haven't played an official game with the Rays.
Oh, really? Because of COVID? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Oh,
like
wow. Okay.
I was like, this is kind of all I know. I don't really know what to expect. Like, yeah, I'll be a lot closer to home, which is a
Right.
good part. But
Yeah.
outside of
Yeah.
that, I was like, I don't really know. Like, I don't know what these
Mm-hmm.
guys are gonna be trying to teach me. That's going to be, could be complete opposite of what the guys with the Padres were teaching me in the
Mm.
instruction. So, I mean, that part I was kind of eager to find out.
Mm-hmm.
But I was grateful that I was given another opportunity with another team that clearly saw something in me and they wanted to jump on their chance of having me a part of the organization. And it's been so far so good. I've enjoyed my time with the Rays and just looking forward to having a season with them and playing some games now.
I know, man. And I remember one of my boys told me this. Your dad probably remember his name, Hobert Cabrera, a utility guy with mainly with the Indians. And I remember he was getting traded one time. And he was a good player. And I remember I kind of was like, we were young. I was young like you, 21, 22. And he had got traded and he was just like, man, he was like, you know what, D? He said, you know, it ain't that the team doesn't want you no more. He's like, that other team wanted you that much, you know what I'm saying, to trade for you. He said, that's the way you have to look at this. And I was like, and he's telling me this as he got traded. And I was like, because somebody, somebody, a veteran dude told him that, and I was like, he looked at it that way, and I was like, damn, man, that's a good way to look at it, So, but now, okay, so now you are with the Rays now, have not played in COVID. Do you feel a little, added pressure to feel like, I don't know, tell me how your feelings are, man, going into spring training, man.
No, I mean, I don't really believe in, adding pressure. Baseball is honestly a hard enough game as it is. So I kind of just try to keep it as simple as possible. I think that's the easiest way, at least for me, that I can get the most out of myself, and not press, and not try to do too much, because it's when you start trying to do too much that you start making uncharacteristic mistakes and things like that. So no, I mean, I'm just excited. Honestly, I'm excited to play some competitive baseball again, and that's something this is my longest stretch in my life that I haven't played like a really competitive baseball game.
Right.
That that counted for something, or that people are like a bunch of people are watching. So now with COVID and everything, people can't watch, can't be fans in the stands, or minor league side, we didn't have a real season. So yeah, for the most part, I'm just excited to be able to play. Hopefully next year there's some bit of normalcy, and we could have a regular season, 140 or 120 games, however many it's going to be, and have some fans and have that excitement, adrenaline pumping, and have that a bit of competitiveness back. So that's mostly what I'm excited for.
All right. He says, great stuff, Mr. Everson and Xavier. Xavier, how was your first experience in the big league camp? Have you gone to big league camp yet?
I played in a big league spring training game with the Padres, and same thing with the Rays this year prior to it being shut down. Okay. So no, I haven't been at a full big league camp. But
are you going to big league camp this year, or are you going, or no?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay. Let me ask you. You didn't do the full league. You didn't go down.
I did an alternate site, so I guess that was about the equivalent of big league camp for this COVID season. It was alternate site.
So I'm saying in the fall though, did you go down? Did they have an instructional league for you guys down there?
Yeah, I did alternate site during the regular season, and then after the season we had instructs.
Right.
So I did that the last about 2.5, 3 months.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So that was good.
All right, cool. So let me ask you this. So, now that you are officially, hardcore pro and smack dab in the middle, like you are in the trenches now, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I mean, talk about, I mean, I know you didn't do it this past year, but how beneficial is it to have a dad that like knows, how it is, those bus rides, those slumps, those, coaches, you don't know how they feel, and how talk about that side of that where a lot of guys don't have that. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of guys got to rely on agents that don't see the background and don't have your background. And so how was that dynamic to kind of have your dad that's kind of been there to lean on?
It's been very important in the transition. Not just because you could hear stuff, you could hear stories, but you don't really know what it's like until you experience it. And for him telling me stories about the minor leagues, and there's going to be guys that are just out for your spot, and there's going to be guys that you become lifelong friends with. There's going to be guys that you just don't get along with. There's going to be coaches that you listen to a lot of things they say, and other coaches that you have to weed out the things they say to what applies to you and what doesn't apply. And the ups and downs of a 140, 162 game season, how to take care of your body, what you should be putting in your body, and all the stories that go along with it. It's been important to hear it from him firsthand, not just from a young age, but just him being my dad, and just what he says means more than hearing it from other people that don't have that same connection with me. So it's been really important to have him in my corner throughout this whole thing, just him experience it for himself, and now telling me what to expect when I went into it. So it wasn't really a shocker. Like, yeah, it was my first time experiencing it, but I knew what I was going to experience before I went inside into pro baseball. So it's been huge for me, and this is a transition, making it as smooth as possible.
Good deal, man. All right. Cherie says, how many players like you were with you in camp?
So like minor league camp or
Yeah, let's
Probably the
just you
alt
can say
site.
alternate site?
yeah, the alternate
So
site. Yeah.
alternate site, it was it was about like 30, 35 guys, I want to say. Like 30, 35 guys. A lot of pitchers. The Rays, we had a lot of injuries this year, so a lot of the pitchers from alternate site were going to the big leagues. So you had like 10 or 11 big league pitchers get hurt. So it got down to about 20 towards the last like 2.5 weeks. Guys were
Hmm.
getting called up, making their debut. So it was about 20 of us, and we were playing inter squads and practicing at the Porchard at the spring training facility. So that's what I was doing for the most part during this COVID, getting tested every other day with the spit test
Mm.
and
Mm.
practicing and playing inter squads with as many guys as we could.
Let me ask you this: for the parents that don't really understand from a minor league side, like obviously you got to go back to uh how many players are in, you know, like give them an idea. So when you walk in that minor league camp, like how many players are there and all competing and trying to hang on to jobs, or like you a young guy, you good now, you know what I'm saying? You gotta keep bowling. But like how many guys are there? Just so you kind of get an understanding.
There's little like close to. So you got the rookie ball, sometimes two rookie ball teams, the short season, the low A, high A, double A, triple A. Most of the triple A guys are usually a big league camp, so you could subtract a few of them, but it's about 25 guys a team at least, maybe even more than that because they still got guys that they're gonna release soon. So more than that. So you're looking at a good 200 guys, give or take,
Yeah.
strolling in there for spring training, and it's depending on how you did the last year, how you came into spring training, what performance you put in spring training. It's everybody's fight to try to get up to that next team, that next level, and up to that big league squad. So it's a lot of guys that you're lining up against that play your position, that run, throw, hit the ball as far as you, throw it as hard as you, or not, if not harder, run just as fast. There's a lot of guys out there, so
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
that's
stay on
what
top of it.
that's what I wanted to hit you with right there. Sharice, man, how many black players are out there? That's what she meant to say.
Oh,
Ooh.
that number's a lot lower. With the Padres, we actually had a few. I want to say we had about 7 or 8 within the whole organization.
The whole organization.
Yeah, and that's a good number. That's a pretty good number, honestly. It's crazy to say that's a good number, but that's a pretty good number. And I had most of them in the lower levels with me. Like we didn't have any above the level I was. We had one above the level I was playing at throughout the rest of the minor league system.
So dubs and trips, they ain't had
Yeah,
nobody.
Yeah, D.
they had one. They had one in
Yeah.
Double A. Buddy Reed. He was the only one in Double A, and then we didn't have any in Triple A, and then we didn't have any in the big leagues. And
Yeah, D. Can I speak to that for a minute?
Yes, please.
Yeah, yeah. So look, the game has definitely changed in that regard. I think that's one of the reasons why Xavier and I have come up with the idea for his camp. During your time and in my time, you had guys like Eric Davis, Chris Brown, Straw, Doc Gooden. At that time, minorities, African Americans in particular, were making up about 20%, 30%
Right,
of major league teams.
right, right.
And man, that number has dwindled significantly. There are people that have color, but they're just not African Americans. And as MLB or teams have put money into academies over in other countries, our inner cities don't have the numbers or the facilities to support our players the way that they need to be. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to set up a camp that was going to give back to kids, minorities in particular, just instill the things that I learned when I was playing the game, and the things that I was doing to try to help players that look like him and I, as well as yourself.
When is this camp going on, Jovon?
Well, Xavier's camp runs annually in December. His camp is December 28th through the 29th. We hosted at his old high school, North Broward Prep, here in Coconut Creek, Florida. This will be the third year. He
Nice.
established his first off season.
Nice.
It's been growing ever since the first year. We had 18 kids out there. Last year we had 55 kids. This year we've capped it. We've capped it at 75, but don't tell anybody. But we're over that cap.
Cool.
So,
I mean, how important is that, Xavier, to see and put on camps like this and see maybe the potential next Xavier out there and sharing your knowledge of the game that and your experiences and see those faces, wanting to be you. You know what I'm saying? How cool is that, man?
It's really cool. Actually, funny you ask, because like it's cool to see the kids. Like we had kids coming from Tampa, West Florida, pretty much coming to the camp last year,
Nice.
and a group of like teammates, and it was just cool to see, how skilled some of these players are. Because usually players of color get labeled like raw. They got raw talent. They're athletic, but they don't have the intangibles to play, or they don't have the baseball IQ. And it was cool to see how skilled some of the players were of color, and at such a young age. It was really it got me really happy to see that these kids were trained the right way, and that they're learning the fundamentals of playing baseball at such a young age. And it's really it's important just to give back and to see these kids just kind of growing and see them come year after year. This is the third year, and see kids that came from the first year and see how much they've grown in the 2 years now following. And just to see the talent that's up and coming in South Florida, from Palm Beach all the way down to Miami, to see the kids just growing year after year, practicing. That we're asking to work out with me and my dad in the off season, and talking about they'll drive from Miami to work out with us. We've got kids that came to camp. Kid Alex from North Miami, he came down during this COVID, and he was working out with us. He was driving from Miami, 8 a.m. driving from Miami and working out with us here. So it's cool to see the talent at such a young age. And, I see a little bit of myself in them. Like, there's no reason why you guys can't do what I did and be better. There's no reason why you can't. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't, because you can do whatever you set your mind to. And I'm living proof of that. So just because somebody says you're too small, just because somebody says you're not fast enough, you don't go hard enough, that doesn't matter. I'm not the biggest guy.
Yeah, I want to speak on that. I want to speak on that, Xavier, because I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to bring that up a little earlier. There's a couple more questions and stuff, but I want to really understand, because everybody gets caught up in these measurables so much, And I even talked about it yesterday for my 13 and 14-year-old. If you ain't, like throwing your measurables are not at that level, why go to these perfect games and PBRs and just to get on there if you're not, have those measurables. But you're 5'10", 5'11", and 175-ish. So and you were still picked 38th in the country. So how did you feel like your size at any time coming up there was a hindrance? Do you wish, like, oh man, I wish I was bigger, or man, did you ever feel like it was a strike against you, your size?
I definitely felt at times it was a strike against me, because they always mention it. They always mention the projectability of athletes that are usually taller, 6'1", 6'2", or bigger. On the pitching side, or even the position player side, they mention stuff like that. And for me, it's always been it allowed me to have a chip on my shoulder, because I know I've never been the tallest guy. Like, I'm usually the smallest guy out there. Even to this day, I'm usually one of the smallest guys out there. But I may not have the best numbers, whether it be, exit velocity, regular velocity. I'm usually up there for speed. But, at the end of the day, those things are good as a tool to get better and to train. But those can't be the end-all, be-all, because the game's played at 7 o'clock in between the lines. It doesn't matter how hard you throw across the diamond. If you're not fielding the ball cleanly, you can't throw it. It doesn't matter how far you hit the ball in BP. If you can't make contact, you'll be walking back to the dugout like everybody else. So I pride myself on playing the game. And you may have better numbers than me, but I'm going to prove to you that I'm a better baseball player than you. I'm going to prove to you and the scouts that I'm the best one out here, that I can play at the highest level, higher than all of you guys. So that was where the chip for me was. Like, it didn't matter how big or small it was. It was almost better than I was small. I always say this, like, they don't expect anything out of me because I'm so small, which is fine. Because then when I go do something, it looks better on my end. So It's a lot easier to play free when they don't expect anything out of you. So just be the one out there taking care of business. May not be the biggest, may not be the strongest, but I'm gonna go out there and play as hard as I can, and I'll show you what I can do on the field.
Man, yeah, you gave me the chills, man, a little bit, man. You gave me the chills a little bit, man. I love hearing competitors, man. I love hearing y'all talk, man. I love it, man. George says that's awesome. So, what do your camps comprise of? Hitting, fielding, pitching? Do you measure any of these players' metrics?
No. To answer the last question, no, we don't measure any metrics. Yes, we really do hitting with my dad, also as well as my agent Reggie Jefferson. He played in the MLB for 10 plus years, Red Sox, first baseman. So got some guys that can swing it at high level. You got a lot of other pro guys, myself, Tristan Cassis. He's the number, I want to say 1 or 2 prospect at the Red Sox. Mark Vientos, number 7 prospect at the Mets. So you got a lot of guys who had a lot of success, whether it be minor league or major league, talking hitting. I'm talking fielding as well as the other infielders like Tristan and Mark. Pitching, like Tristan McKenzie made his major league debut this year. We got Mac Lemieux, who's pitched in the Diamondbacks organization. We got Tuki Dusan, who pitched up and down between AAA and the majors the last 2 seasons with the Braves.
Right.
So we've got guys at all levels. We've had Jeff Nelson come, who had a really long baseball pitching career in the major leagues.
Yeah, man.
With the Yankees. So
dirty,
he's commentating with MLB. So we've got all levels. We've got some college pitchers coming out. So no metrics. We're not measuring any metrics, but a lot of info and a lot of demonstration, a lot of drills on hitting, fielding, and pitching from all levels between the highest college level. We got guys from Vanderbilt, guys going to Virginia Tech that are going to be helping out, and guys from Chipola, junior college. So we got the junior college, the best junior college school athletes. We got the best D1 schools. We got the best minor league and major league players that are all giving instruction on hitting, fielding, and pitching. So a lot of instruction.
I love it, man. Cynthia says, put your Snap or email address so she can get her son linked up with you. And, matter of fact, for that to happen, it'd be nice if you could put all your, if you got a Twitter or a Instagram, that'd be great, to get some followers, man. So what's your Instagram?
X Edwards 9.
You said X. You said what now? I'm sorry.
Edwards. Edwards 9. Yeah, that's my pretty much everything. My Twitter, Instagram, and then my email is that@gmail.com.
X Edwards 9.
All right, and then I'll get that email
just add Gmail for the same thing. It's X Edwards 9 at Gmail. I'm sorry, X Edwards 9 at gmail.com.
All right.
Yep, good to go.
Cool. So, I'll put that up here too. All right, cool. It's a great question. Let me see. Join late blessings. What is? All right. So he said join late and blessings for Bama. He said, what is Xavier's height and weight? I know you just talked about it, but you came on late.
Yeah, I'm 5. For the perfect game sites, I'm 5'10", 5'11". But in real life, I'm about 5'10".
He said real life.
I say 5'10" with cleats on, so there's a little truth to the 5'10". I'm 5'10" with cleats on, but I'm 5'9". You catch me with sneakers and not on the field. And I weigh 175, 176.
Right. So I say this because everybody get caught up in the big boys and all of that, but I mean, now granted, you switch hitter, that's and he can obviously hit. He could field. He probably plus the way he talks defense. I don't necessarily know his grading out process, but I already know the fact that he talks defense. That lets you know he's a plus defender, and he's a plus runner. So you're talking, he's a switch hitter, plus defense, plus runner. All right, so you're talking just tools. All right, right there. All right, and the arm, of course, I'm sure he's got the arm, and I accumulate all of that. So it may not be 6, he may not be a career, all right, but you know, you got all the tools that you need to make it to the big leagues and make that killing out here, man. So listen, man.
Yeah.
I wish I had put that flyer. You know, Jovon, if you could, man. I want you to kind of explain, you know, to these parents listening in. You being, you know, played professional ball, been around the game damn near for 35 plus years now, right? You know, and um,
Yeah.
yeah, could you explain the process, like a step by step, to give advice for parents on what they should do as far as like, if not necessarily get to be a first rounder, but like just through the process, even through recruiting or, you know, obviously through the draft process. You just give them some steps so, you know, they don't get misled out here.
Yeah, look, first of all, I think, you have to get your student athlete evaluated from somebody reputable. You could use, Perfect Game, one of these guys. There's a money. I don't want to say a money grab, but there's going to be a little bit of money involved. But you definitely want to get an evaluation as to their talent level. And more than anything, when you start looking at colleges and schools, you have to look at the person's actual position that they play, how well they've developed that position at the collegiate level, how many players are in that particular recruiting class. If he's a 2023, have they already signed 2023s at his position? More importantly, you got to choose a school where you can play. I joke around sometimes, but Vanderbilt, that's where Xavier was committed. And I ask parents often, well, how many current big league guys do you know, position players from Vanderbilt? And they could name maybe Dansby Swanson. Those who are diehard, hardcore can name Tony Kemp and Brian Reynolds. And after that, the list gets really short. And then I said, well, okay, do you know the name Tim LeCastro? He's like, no, I never heard of him. I said, well, he's an outfielder for the Diamondbacks. He's in the big leagues. And do you know what college he went to? They have no idea. Well, he went to Ithaca College, which is a Division III school upstate New York. And so here's a D3 school that has one major leaguer in Vandy, which everybody thinks is the end all, that has 3 big league position players that we know about. So that's not that big of a disparity in the first place. And so you got to find the right fit. I use Kevin Kiermaier as another example. He went to Parkland Community College, and yet here he is playing center field, probably the best defensive center fielder in the game. And he didn't go to that big school. So it's not always a big school that you're in search of. You got to find a program where your son is going to play and have a chance to develop. And once you have an evaluation, it's then trying to figure out the best college situation academically and then athletically where he's going to have a chance to develop. The whole pro game, the draft process, if you have some relationships, there are enough scouts in the game. I think there might be more scouts of color than there might have ever been in the past. That's one good thing about the game now. I have noticed that across the board. We had our meetings at our house. We did have African Americans, Latin, as well as Caucasian scouts in our house for all of our meetings. But the first step is just really an evaluation. Look, you come down to South Florida, look me up, give me a call, and I know people in different areas where I could point to. Look, in the Atlanta area, they need to be calling you, okay? And I know your eyes there, the game, and there's other guys in that area. I know Grissom is in that area, Marvin Freeman, some other guys. But reach out to these guys and ask questions. Hey, can you take a look at my kid? Can you give me an honest evaluation of what his upside may be in the position, where he's going in this game? There's enough of us out there where there's a great network, and that we should be sharing information. There's one thing, there was a person on this meet, they just sent a text that their kid was coming to Xavier's camp, and he plays with a local team. And I actually know the kid, his name is Byron White Jr. His coach here, he was in the cage with him probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. And the big kid, strong kid, hits the ball. And I looked at the bat the kid was using. The bat was undersized. I said, Coach, that kid needs a bigger bat. D, I tell you, we had a conversation with his dad at the end of the practice. The coach gave him a couple bigger bats, and I think the coach said he hit 4 doubles the next tournament. He was on fire. He's been swinging like a drop three ever since.
Wow.
So there's enough of us out there that know the game, can give advice that's free, that you don't have to pay for. Reach out, send an email, send a text. There's enough of us out there that we need to be giving back, in the game and to the game in that way as well.
Mm. Great, man. The Jovon spitting knowledge. My boy Brian says, can you explain the dedication, hard work, and effort on both parts of the parents and the athletes? Explain the sequence from January through December that it took to get to that point. Parents really need to hear this.
You want Xavier or you want me? I guess
Let's start with,
probably says parents.
Yeah, so go ahead, Jovon, talk about that.
Okay, so we said, let me see, January to February. Well, I'm sorry, to December.
Yeah, basically a year.
Look, in South Florida, yeah, basically a year. Look, the winter months, we're training here, hitting, hour and a half or so a day, probably fielding 45 minutes, doing some sort of throwing. I definitely recommend cutting back on the throwing a little bit in the off season and getting in the gym, having some sort of exercise program where you're working on specifics, whether it's to get stronger, develop your bat speed, doing a lot of wrist rolls, hand curls, iron crush grip, to strengthen your grip. So those winter months, December, January, February, there's more conditioning and hitting and fielding. You start to get into your season. We do a lot of heavy bat swinging. My son hits a lot of like Godzilla beans, really small beans, or seeds, with a hitting stick. We do that throughout the year, time to time. So throughout the season, he's going to back off of the lifting a little bit, to stay flexible, do more stretching, yoga, things like that. Obviously, you got to be eating right. And then in the summer, I think is probably the most important time where you're getting enough rest, because these kids are playing tournaments, playing 2-3 games a day, and it's 95 degrees out. So you have to stay hydrated. You have to get the proper rest and put the proper things in your body. But from a parent standpoint, it's just making sure he's managing himself. Like, you don't have to manage him, but that he's managing himself properly. And even getting in some reading, some studying during those times too. One thing my wife and I did, we had Xavier, he took his SAT early, had his qualifying scores by his sophomore year. And this way he didn't have to go out that junior summer and have pressure on him thinking that he's got the SAT coming up. And so we just helped him manage his academics as well throughout that process. So, look, the recruiting aspect, making sure these guys aren't just reaching out all night to the hour, setting some boundaries there, making sure there were certain hours that that people called, that coaches called, and kind of shutting things down after that too. We'll get to you when we get to you, but we got to respect those boundaries. But you can set those in a way that they'll respect. Xavier?
I love that.
Well, yeah, for me, obviously, education was huge in my family. Growing up with two educators as parents, I had to take care of the classwork before I could take care of the training. But definitely springtime usually is high school baseball, depending on, I guess, what part of the country you're living in. But in the South, big high school baseball during the springtime, for those early months. Practicing a lot with high school teams and working out, getting ready for high school season. During the summer, you're with your travel team, so you should be traveling a good bit, playing a lot of games. Especially if you're on a competitive travel team, you should be playing a lot of travel baseball games, whether it be in Atlanta, Fort Myers, Palm Beach. A lot of tournaments, a lot of good tournaments, a lot of good teams, and a lot of scouts, college coaches, and professional scouts would be at between those two states, just Georgia and Florida alone. And then after the whole summer thing winds down, fall, starting school back up, you should be back to your training. You're lifting, you're getting ready for the season. So I feel like the fall, around the August to November, December range is when you really should be trying to build up and do a lot of your training to get ready for that spring season. And just to build up so that you're ready. Staying or practicing, yeah, like my dad was saying, not as much workouts so much during the spring, because you'll be playing high school, and then a heavy workload during the summer if you're on a competitive team. But definitely the heavier workload I feel like should be at the end of the year, so during the fall, and just getting ready, build you up for that first half of the year, so that you're ready for your seasons to show out for the summer circuit.
All right. We got Chad Hermanson says he's coming on tomorrow, ex-big leaguer, but he said I scouted him in high school, reminded me of Jimmy Rollins. Muzzy Jackson said, say hello to Jovon and X.
Yeah.
Muzzy, your money man too, huh?
Yeah, my financial advisor, he is.
Yeah, Muzzy, yeah. All right. Shout out to my boy Muzz, man. We go way back too, man. So let me see here. I get where your dad go. But anyway, let me see. What size bat for a 12-year-old, 5'5", 110-pounder right now swings a drop 5? What size bat for a 12-year-old?
Cool.
It's drop 5.
Yeah, I was about to say at 12. Yeah, my dad, he had some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
But he was saying,
drop
yeah,
5
just try to get to -3 as quick as possible. Obviously, you don't want to overwhelm them, but challenge is good.
Drop 5 is good. Right at his age, drop 5 is
yeah,
good.
around that age, I was swinging about drop 5, doing a lot of training with -3, but during the games, I was swinging drop 5s. And then kind of once I got to being like a teenager, because, middle school stuff is the same deal, drop 5. So once you're kind of in that middle school rank and you have to be swinging drop 3s, you don't really want that to be the first time you should be training prior to that with -3s. So try to train and do as much, heavy bat, sledgehammer work, and weighted bat, as much -3 work as you can before you just need to be thrown into the fire.
All right. Let me do this. DeAndre, I'm going to post Jovon's information, IG and Twitter. Do you know it off the top, Xavier, or no?
My dad doesn't have either one of those.
Okay.
Yeah, he's real old school.
Old school email. He email only, right? Email only. So
yep.
What's your, what up, Hat? You know what I'm saying? So what I'm gonna do is this though. He's coming back on. Xavier, man, I would love for you to give a message out to, that kid that's out here. You got a lot of parents, man, that like you said, they got your size, they want to do and be, work hard to get where you're at. If you could, take us out on a message, and before I go there, parents, just listen in. I will be back at 8:00 tonight to do part 2 of the 5-day workshop, all right, tonight at 8 p.m. again. So go over to my private Facebook page. If you're not, if you're wanting to get on that webinar, which I highly suggest you do, but go over to D Brown Baseball, the group page, and ask for an invite to have access to the day 2 of this webinar tonight at 8 p.m. A little over an hour from now. Okay, I just want to kind of get that message in. But Xavier, if you can, man, take us out, man, with this, for those messages, man, from kids that's looking up to you and wanting to be the next Xavier Evers, man.
All I would say to them is, keep going, keep doing it. The cards are usually stacked against us. If you look like me, if you're not the biggest, you're not the strongest, but there's no reason why you can't do it, because the beautiful thing about baseball is it doesn't matter your size. You've seen that at the biggest stage, Jose Altuve is a prime example. He's the shortest guy in the league, and he's been an MVP. And yeah, Mookie Betts, guy of color who's top 3, if not even higher, as player in the league. One of the best players in the league right now. And he's not the biggest guy. He's not as big as Stanton or Judge, but he's just as talented, or if not more talented than both of those guys. So
it definitely is more talented.
Don't believe everything that everybody else is saying. Just you put your head down, stay the course. As much work as you're gonna put in is what you're gonna get out of it. You don't gotta do a lot of talking. Just let your play and your performance do the talking for you.
Spoken like a true professional. All right. So, this is his email. Real fast, my boy Russ want to know what was the website for the event. The web address.
You can go to my Twitter or Instagram for a post. You'll see a post about the camp. But also you can email Jovon Edwards 09@gmail.com regarding the camp.
All right. All right.
Oh yeah, 09.
Jovon Edwards. Which one?
09@gmail.com regarding the camp.
All right. And I think DeAndre asked about his Twitter handles and anything like that. You could, I'm sure he wouldn't mind you emailing him too. So, you know, it is what it is. So Yamina, what's up, Yamina? She says very inspiring. All right. Keisha said great advice and thanks. So, you know, hi D, first time listener, great stuff, my man. Saying hello from South Florida with a 13-year-old son, Mario, no doubt. Mario, come on up to my boys' camp, man. All right, up there, you right there in his neck of the woods. All right, but I'm glad you're here, man. But what size bat do you use, eh? 33 and a half,
31 and a half.
Yeah, I knew he was gonna say that.
-2.
Okay, all right. So 33 and a half, 31 and a half ounce bat. All right. All right, cool. So Jovon, I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you, man. Xavier, great to meet you, man. Great young man. I wish the best for you, my brother. All right. Go out here and ball out, man, and give a lot of people that look like you that hope, man, and just go ball out, man. You know, go take advantage of the opportunity, man, and do what you got to do, man. And Jovon, man, I appreciate you, my brother.
Always, sir. Always.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
All right. So, listen, parents, again, tomorrow, 4 p.m., I'll have Chad Hermanson on ex-Major Leaguer, talking about the mental side of the game. He'll be on. And then tonight, 8 p.m. again, I just want to let you guys know, join us tonight, 8 p.m. with the free webinar on day 2 of the 5-day workshop. All right. In the private Facebook group, reach out to me if you're not on there. All right. So, thank you, my brothers. Jovon, man, been a blessing, man. Xavier, man, keep rocking and rolling, man. I can't wait to meet you in person one day. All right.
XE9.
Yes, sir, appreciate it.
XE9.
Exit 9. What you said? What?
XE9. That's the camp. XE9.
Oh, okay. XE9.
Yep.
Is it? But just put it like that and just
That's
go
it.
from...
XE9. Xavier Edwards 9. That's what they know. That's what they go by. XE9.
All right, cool. All right. So that's the camp. And one more time, when is it again?
December 28th, 29th at North Broward Prep High School.
All right. So you hear XE9, you can email and look at Xavier's Twitter or Instagram. I'll have the flyer up there too. So, you know, and if you could, you know, share it to me on the background, and I'll put it on my stuff too. All right, Jovon?
Gotcha.
All right.
Good deal.
All right, man. Y'all guys take care, man. Love you guys, man. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
All right, man. Peace.